NASCAR returns to Watkins Glen International this weekend. Only 3 regular season races to go before the NASCAR playoffs begin. I am now joined by Ryan Stevens, wintherace.info, coming to us from a very exotic location. I guess you're in upstate New York, right, Ryan? I guess you're not too far from Watkins Glen. I appreciate you being on theme this week.
Yeah, I'm out back here. We have some work being done inside. So, upstate New York race. I'm in upstate New York. So here's what it looks like. It's beautiful this time of year.
A nice little visual sneak preview there. Well, we've got a lot to get into, Ryan. It's always great to talk to you. I want to start first, before we dive into a bunch of different drivers, data analytics, I want to clear one thing up. Shane Van Gisbergen is got to be the favorite. He's won 3 straight road course races, so dominant this year on the left and right hand turn. So I want to clear that up. SVG is obviously the favorite, but we're going to hype up a lot of other drivers because he has been beaten before. Doesn't happen often, and it's been a little while, but we saw 1 year ago Chris Buescher was able to battle Shane Van Gisbergen and win. It could happen again. So I want to start with the regular season championship fight. It's gone back and forth the last couple of weeks. William Byron now back out front, plus 18 points, but Chase Elliott is a 2-time Watkins Glen winner, a 7-time road course winner. It's been a while, but I want to start there, Ryan. Do you see Chase Elliott or William Byron having the stronger points afternoon this Sunday?
This one's very close. I have to give the slight edge to William Byron here. He'll get to go off, super late in qualifying. You're going to want to qualify up front here. Now, we did see Buescher win from 24th here last year, but before that, the winners started second in the Gen 7 Watkins Glen races, one of those being Byron himself, who dominated the race and won. But over the last 20 races here, the winners started inside the top 7 in 17 of those 20 races. So you're going to want to show up fast. Beyond that, we can just look at how Byron's been running on roads this season. In 2025, he's second to only SVG in true average running position on road courses. And you might say, Chicago Street, he had that issue. But we just used, average running position based on the actual laps that they ran. So he's still second to SVG as far as we're concerned. Never really had a fair shot in that Chicago race. But while I'm picking Byron, I'll say, it is close because Elliott's one of those guys who just finds finishes. He's second to only SVG in average finish on road courses this season. So it is super close. We have him 4th and 6th in 4-tire pit stops on Win the Race, so their pit crews are both great. And when we simulate this race 20,000 times, we have William Byron winning the matchup 51.61% of the time. So it's right near dead even there. So that was a great matchup to pick out here to start everything.
I guess there's a reason they're 1-2 in the points right now. It is that close between Hendrick teammates. A lot of Cup Series drivers are pulling double, or in a couple cases, I think triple duty this weekend at Watkins Glen. Kyle Busch, Riley Herbst, Ross Chastain, Christopher Bell come to mind, but I want to focus in on 2 drivers in particular who are both in a similar points battle, really just a battle to make the playoffs. Win and you're in. Could be Michael McDowell's saving grace. Michael McDowell will run the Xfinity race for Colleague, and Chris Buescher, last year's Cup winner at Watkins Glen, will run the truck race for Thor Sport. I just mentioned Buescher's won this race. McDowell won a road course race 2 years ago at Indianapolis. I want to circle those guys because I think the extra track time, the extra seat time could be very important come Sunday. Who do you like in that matchup? Buescher, McDowell, who maybe has the best shot at spoiling SVG's afternoon?
This is another great one back-to-back here. I'll give another very slight edge here to McDowell. In the 2025 road races, McDowell's 6th best in our true performance scores on Win the Race. He has a better true average running position than Buescher, running almost 50% of his laps inside the top 10. At Watkins Glen, too, he doesn't have a win like Buescher does last year, but he does have a nice record here. He's had great runs here now for 10 years, consistently outperforming for Levine and then for Front Row. And now he's with Spire, and Spire finished 3rd and 8th here last year. And then just getting more matchup specific between these 2. McDowell beat Buescher in 2022, the first Gen 7 race here. He had a better car in 2023, one of the best cars I thought, and then he had those electrical issues. And then last year, Buescher did have that, absolute rocket ship that took down SVG. But the one advantage McDowell here has as well is that he should be only racing for a win. He needs to win and get in, where Buescher could opt to take some points in points race, and that could hurt his finish on the day. So if I had to just pick a head-to-head, the slight edge goes to McDowell. And then the same thing I mentioned before, when we simulated out, McDowell We have him winning this matchup 55.57% of the time. So another one that's, right around dead even there.
Yeah, that's pretty close, but I agree with you. I think I would give the tiebreaker to McDowell, if you will, just because of his point situation. Ironically, because it's more dire, it actually maybe puts him in a better spot to just focus on the win, take track position over stage points. That could be an advantage for Michael McDowell. I brought those two up because those are two drivers that need really big days to potentially make the playoffs. One other driver who probably has this weekend circled is AJ Allmendinger, but Allmendinger is not pulling double duty, which I found interesting. Instead, Michael McDowell is driving that Colleague Xfinity car. Allmendinger's a past Watkins Glen winner, but it's been over a decade. He's obviously a great road racer, but my argument recently, Ryan, was that I'm not sure that team is a great road course team right now. I don't know that I can trust Colleague equipment to, one, have the right setup, to last 2, 3, 4, 500 miles, whatever the case may be. I think it's debatable if this is even a top 10 road course program right now, all things considered. Allmendinger's doing the heavy lifting, but I want to know, based on the metrics you have, Ryan, this year, where does AJ Allmendinger stack up at road courses, and does he have a realistic shot at pulling off the win this Sunday?
Yeah, all that makes sense. I mean, when we simulate this race 20,000 times, we have AJ with the fourth highest percentage of wins, but it's important to keep those numbers, in mind that we talked about with SVG. SVG's, winning 35-ish% of the races that we simulate, and then the next guys are down near 7 or 8%. So it's just a huge, huge gap there that we talked about. So fourth best isn't necessarily just a 1, 2, 3, 4 linear type thing. But the fringy top 10 makes sense. I mean, I have him as the 9th best in true performance scores on roads this year, 9th best in true average running position. So there's that fringy top 10. He only has one top 10 finish in those 4 races. But I do think, Watkins Glen's a little different for him. He's qualified inside the top 10 in 11 straight Watkins Glen races. And he finished 2nd and 4th here to begin the Gen 7 era before, the reliability that you had mentioned set in. Transmission issues last year. The only 2 cars he beat were the 2 that wrecked out. So, there is that with Colleague. You'd hope they could make it through the whole race. If they do, I think he's definitely live for top 10 or even a top 5. But again, going to be very tough to beat SVG here.
Yeah, Colleague racing, kind of boom or bust. If all the wheels stay on that car, yeah, Allmendinger, that's good data, is very good at Watkins Glen in particular, but it's a big if that team can get them across the finish line. Who else could burst the playoff bubble, so to speak? I mentioned him earlier, and I didn't factor him into that McDowell-Buscher matchup because I kind of wanted to talk about him here, but I really like Kyle Busch. That's another driver on the bubble, probably needs to win if he's going to make the playoffs at this rate, and he's had some great road course runs this year. 5th at COTA, 5th at Chicago, 10th recently at Sonoma. You remember he led all those laps early in the year in Austin. He's won at Watkins Glen a couple of times. It's been a long, long time, but he's done it before. He's running double duty, getting some extra seat time. I like Kyle Busch, but Ryan, do you have a name in mind, someone who could shock the playoff system this weekend?
Yeah, I don't mind Kyle Busch here too. I know some guys to win the race, are on to Kyle Busch this weekend, or at least, placing some top 10 bets or things like that. What about someone like Ty Gibbs? Going to that, when Kyle Busch was good here, it was with JGR. I mean, Ty Gibbs, in my 2025 true performance scores on win the race, I have him second to only SVG on the road courses. So, and he had arguably a better car than SVG earlier this year when that bad caution timing came out, and that hurt his potential first Cup win. I thought he was, that was a super strong car that day. And while his finishing results in Xfinity at the Glen have been a little volatile, his speed never really has. He won his first Xfinity race there, but in all 4, he never finished a second stage outside of the top 2. So he's always been up front. And in the Cup Series in 2023, he did more of the same. He'd never left the top 5 in any stage or race finish there. So we know the potential's there. And again, another guy needs to win to get in. So, going to be on a race winning strategy. And if he brings a car as fast as he did earlier this year, where, it arguably was faster than SVG, perhaps he could shock the world and Van Gisbergen and get into the playoffs.
I like the Ty Gibbs choice a lot. I think Busch, Gibbs, those sort of cover my best of the rest picks if I had to make those selections myself. A couple more questions, Ryan. Connor Zillich is running triple duty this weekend. He'll run the Truck, Xfinity, and Cup Series race. He's 19 years old now, not quite as impressive as when we always labeled him the 18-year-old phenom, so he's getting up there in age a little bit, but he's been so good in the Xfinity Series lately. He's only made one Cup start at a road course this year, and it was Circuit of the Americas. He qualified 14th, ran up into the top 10, but got caught up in a wreck. Where do you think Zillich will rank speed-wise in the Cup race this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, we always talk about double duty guys. It's very rare we see a triple duty weekend, especially with a guy where this is like, his prowess. He's the guy. We might be a bit aggressive here, but when we simulate this race 20,000 times, we have Zillich behind only SVG, which probably shocks some people. But, when you look at some of the sports books, they're kind of feeling the same way here. There is that large gap, though. We have SVG up in the 30s, like I said. Next guy's down around 8. But when we saw Zillich at Coda, I thought it took him a bit to kind of get his bearings, get comfortable out there. And then, if you remember, he was like lightning fast. He was just carving everyone up, like slicing and dicing through the field. He just looked like a veteran out there, and then got caught up in that issue. But overall, when we can pull up Loop Edge on Win the Race, and we do have the incident adjusted speed on there. And it was right in that 5 to 10 type of range. So I think he can be up there, but you give him this triple duty, more track time, like this guy even needs it. And that experience he has on the track, I just think he's so talented. You could easily see him finish top 5 this weekend. And man, what a story it would be if he could knock off SVG and get a Cup win at this young age. That would be incredible.
It would be incredible. I feel like we keep putting so much pressure on Zillich with how, not just you and I, but how everyone seems to talk about him, and yet he keeps delivering. I mean, he's been on fire in the Xfinity Series. It will be really exciting to see him back in a Cup car on a road course. We'll wrap up with this, Ryan. We keep mentioning him like he's the boogeyman, but Shane Van Gisbergen, obviously the favorite. He's tied already for or if he wins this race, he would be tied for the most wins in Cup this season. He's won 3 straight road courses. I mean, what would it say? What would it mean if Shane Van Gisbergen goes 4 in a row, wins another road course race, another old track? Like, he's won the new configurations like Mexico, Chicago, where no one has a lot of experience, but he won Sonoma, where we've been going for 30 plus years. Watkins Glen, at least as long. What would it say if SVG is able to do what he almost did last season and win at the Glen?
I don't know what else there would be left to say. I mean, it's like the gap to second that I mentioned in all of our scores and simulating is something we've never seen. We don't go to any track where maybe I guess Larson might get that way at Bristol here coming up, but we don't see this gap ever. And what's scary is that he said too in an interview that this one he had marked down. So you don't need to give this guy any additional motivation either, but losing the way he did last year in that great battle, he was so close to getting that win, just so close. And now he has this one marked down as almost like a revenge race where he wants to win and beat everyone. I don't know. I can't even imagine this guy out there with more motivation. But it would be incredible. I'd be speechless, I guess, is the best answer, because I don't know what to say if he goes out there and does it again.
Yeah, what can be said that hasn't already been said? With the legend of Shane Van Gisbergen and his early Cup Series career would just continue on. More playoff points for the final 10 races. I'm starting to think about how deep he could make a playoff run. Could he be a late round upset, take up a spot that we expect a Chase Elliott or a Chase Briscoe to occupy? Like, this guy could be playing spoiler far beyond just this race weekend. But exciting stuff. Racing coming up to your neck of the woods, Ryan. I really appreciate you taking some time this week to talk Watkins Glen, to talk data. Fans, you can find more of Ryan's work at wintherace.info. Great stuff. Love checking out the speed reads every single week. And on Wednesday nights, 8:30, you can watch The Draft, Ryan's preview show with Tino and Phil. You guys stream on the Win the Race YouTube channel, which I will link down in the description below. Good stuff as always. We'll catch up again. Ryan, enjoy the nice weather up there.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's beautiful out. Everyone enjoy the race at Watkins Glen.